weiß ich zu gern.
Danke.
Aber sicher, Prissy. Ich gehe gern heute mit dir und den älteren Mädchen zum Mittagessen.
You Aki.
Katze. Mr. Cuthbert, hier. Hab schreiben gelernt. Jeffini, Entschuldigung. Ich
You
mach
Aki.
dann jetzt Heu.
Es gibt keine Geister.
I want you to go straight to here, and I want you to go to settings, and I want you to turn... So go ahead and press accept and next. Don't select Bing Bar. No one uses Bing Bar. Now it's going to download and install DirectX. Reason being, and the next thing, which is going to be Node C++ installer. Sometimes games and programs won't always install this and you'll get an error message. So just go ahead and install and download it. You won't have full priority on the motherboard. It's like working off, permanently activated. Okay. I'm running in the background to like when to come through or get it and then pause it. And I want you to go straight to here, and I want you to go to settings, and I want you to turn update apps automatically off. I like to turn these two off. That's personal preference. We don't want Windows Store consistently pinging the internet and updating Windows Store apps while we're playing a game or doing something else. Definitely want that. Automatically update maps off. Just go and click on this and turn automatically update maps off. Same thing again. We don't want this updating in the background at all. The whole point of all of this stuff, guys, is to basically put Windows in a complete performance mode and have nothing or absolutely minimal things running in the background, taking any memory usage or CPU usage while we're actually trying to do tasks like gaming or anything else. That's the whole point of all of this. So go ahead and open this where it says delete temp files. You can select all, delete those, open delete temp files, which is another folder, select all of those and delete those. It's a good idea to do these two occasionally. And then also another thing I want you to do, if you're not working off a fresh install, open this, okay, and just check your C drive. Even just SSDs in general, try to keep at least 10% free on SSDs, especially the Windows drive. If you're using an SSD as a Windows drive, and probably even a hard drive, if you fill it up in the red, your game and your whole Windows is going to slow down completely. I've seen people with horrible frame drops because their C drive is completely in the red and they only have like 1 gig free and they wonder why. So if that's the case, maybe go through your C drive, delete a couple of games or drag a couple of games over to another hard drive. Just make sure you always keep at least 10% free to be safe. That'll be fine. Go to disk cleanup here. That's okay. Okay. Then I want you to select all of these. All right. And then select clean up system files. Actually, we probably do need to select all of those. Click clean up system files. Now select all of these. You might see something that says Windows Update at the top as well. Go ahead and select that if you see that. Select all of them basically, and we'll do a full disk cleanup and then press OK and then delete files. Once that's done, I want you to run and disable background apps. Go ahead and turn this off. We don't
Test. Hi.
Want Windows Store apps running in the background at all. They won't. There's one or two apps that will run in the background. Skype and OneDrive are going to be getting rid of those because they'll still pop up in a few weeks or so, even if you haven't disabled in here. So just turn that off. That'll be fine. Go ahead and remove startup apps. So I'm going to turn the security notification icon and I'm going to turn OneDrive off, but we will uninstall OneDrive shortly. Just turn all of these off. Now go to restart apps off. So scroll down until you see automatically restart. Make sure these are turned off, and also the one down here. I'll use my sign-in info to automatically finish up my devices after an update or restart. Please turn this off, okay? Windows gets a little bit messy when this is left on every time you restart. You want it to kind of restart completely fresh, so turn that off completely. All right, go to sync your settings off. Most of you probably won't have this on, but just make sure it's turned off. If you're using a local account, like an offline Windows account, you won't be able to change anything here. That's totally normal. Okay, check unwanted background apps. Now this is a pretty big deal, especially for you guys that haven't done a fresh install. I'm just going to move Task Manager here. All right. What I want you guys to do is go have a bit of a look in here. Now, when you press remove background, disable background apps, you do need to restart for that to apply into effect. So you see some things running here. You might see photos and a bunch of other stuff running here. If you restart, that should go away. But Skype and OneDrive are just two things that just won't go away, so we'll be removing those. But if you see anything else, like software that you're not using, like Corsair software, the IQ software, NZXT software, peripheral software, and you only need peripheral software if you're actually using macros, or like RGB software. If you generally don't care about your RGBs, you want to keep the CPU usage down as low as possible. Go ahead and uninstall all that stuff, which I'm going to be showing you shortly. The whole point of all of this, we want to get this down as low as possible, without breaking Windows, still being able to use everything in Windows, and just to create a smoother experience. So go here and uninstall OneDrive and Skype. These are two apps that just won't go away. So just to save time, I'll search Skype. Go ahead and uninstall this. It will pop up even if you have background apps disabled. And then OneDrive, go ahead and uninstall OneDrive here as well. Horrible that this is so badly embedded. Just go ahead and get rid of it. You can still use OneDrive. You can re-download it on the store if you really need it. You can still use OneDrive through a web browser. That's fine. Go ahead and press yes. Right, moving on. Just generally, just uninstall bloat. So if there are programs that you don't use anymore, that you think that might run in the background that you don't need at all, go ahead and get rid of them. Okay, there's a bunch of like Windows apps here. They won't run in the background. It's totally fine. All right, but if you see some software in here that you're definitely not going to use, Spotify is one thing. For me, if I was to use it, I would rather use the desktop app. This is a UWP app. I'm uninstalling that just in case. But all this other stuff, you can uninstall with it, but it's not going to run in the background. So there's no point uninstalling it. You know, you might use it in the future. Who knows? But it's totally fine. You can just, you're not going to get any performance benefit uninstalling this because it's already not going to be running in the background. So just leave it, honestly. Especially some of these things, if you remove too many of these things, you might have a bad time if you want to use the Xbox Game Pass and you need to use the store for something. Sometimes things will kind of like bug out a little bit, so I just recommend just basically leaving it. But if you see software in here that you are not using anymore, or a bunch of bloat, just remove it for me. Okay, and here's another uninstall program. This is a legacy one, same thing in here. Just have a bit of a check in here. There might be one or two things in here that you didn't see in the other sub menu that you can go ahead and uninstall, especially if you're not using. Okay, those C++ packages we installed, that's totally fine. We can leave it as it is. All right, now go down to the bottom one here where it says remove unwanted auto runs. You have to run this as administrator. Now, for most of you, this is probably for advanced users only. Most of you, I just recommend completely leaving it. But there are some pesky apps that will still, even if you go in the settings, you know, to disable them from boot, which we're going to cover later on in the video, they can still show up and be a little bit pesky. So for personally, I will be deleting a bunch of these. Now, I apologize, I was using a new version of auto runs. I've gone back to the older version and I've updated it, so this will be updated for you guys when you go ahead and download this. Run this as administrator. It was showing up too many things, which it shouldn't have. Anyway, go to log on, and this isn't fully loaded, so I might need to restart the PC, but usually you'll see a bunch of scheduled tasks and services. It's not doing that now. I'm going to give the PC a quick restart. Okay, I've restarted the PC. Now, here in log on, be really, really careful. Like I said, this is for advanced users only, but if you see a couple of programs that you have installed that just like log in when you boot into Windows and you don't want them, you can go ahead and delete them. In my case, there's nothing here because it's a fresh install. And same thing with scheduled task as well. So this is an actual Intel chipset scheduled task, which I really don't need that because I don't want it updating in the background. But same thing again, and generally you can get a bunch of like services like left behind from programs that you've uninstalled. You can delete those, but that's kind of for advanced use only. So for most of you, I'm going to say leave this bit completely out. Now when it comes to the drivers tab, leave the drivers tab alone. You will get blue screens if you play with this, okay? Advanced users only. But anyway, it's just something I like to check, especially if you're not doing a fresh install, all right? And you might see a bunch of like, you know, things that are popping on boot. You might have uninstalled CC Cleaner, but that might still be there and log on, or like, this is an example. There might be a couple of things. But anyway, moving on. Now I want you guys to go to graphics optimization. So what I want you guys to do is boot to safe mode. Reason being, we're going to use display driver uninstaller to remove the driver properly and correctly to get rid of everything. And then we can do a complete fresh install of a driver. So boot to safe mode. Go ahead and run this. Okay, it's just msconfig. Go to boot and then click safe boot, press apply, okay, and restart. when NVIDIA drivers update and update and update, sometimes they tend to get a little bit scuffed. Sometimes it's not completely fresh, even though if you press clean fresh install. So I'd really recommend using display driver on install, especially if your install has been around for a while, you didn't work off a fresh install. So we just follow the prompts and go back through this PC, C drive, PC optimization pack, graphics optimizations. Now, when you run display driver on installer, it will probably want admin privileges. It didn't here, but I might just rerun it. Okay, so just run it as administrator just to be safe. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to go to options. In options, I want you to scroll down and click this last one, prevent download drivers from Windows updates. We do have Windows updates paused, but just in case, because the last thing we want is to boot back into normal mode and Windows starts installing the generic NVIDIA driver. We don't want it to. We want to manually install the latest driver or an updated driver. So go ahead and select this. Press OK and close. Go ahead and select GPU, then select your graphics card that you're using, whether it be AMD, NVIDIA, or your Intel. So for this case, I've got a 3090. I'm selecting NVIDIA, and then I'm going to press clean and do not restart. Click clean and do not restart, and I'll show you why in a second. This will take a few minutes, let it do its thing. It'll let you know when it's done. The screen might flash, totally fine. It's finished, press yes. Now we need to go back to that folder, okay? Now we need to turn safe mode off. So go back here, here, and here. Boot to normal mode, open this, click boot, and then uncheck safe boot. Click apply.